Hello everyone, my name is Pasture and welcome to this special video today to celebrate the launch of the Barnyard Animal Pack alongside the update 1.17. So when you are watching this video today, this pack will have released or will release depending on when you watch this, because I will probably release this video a little bit earlier than the release time of the DLC. But if you're watching this, then there's a good chance this DLC is now available for you guys to buy over on Steam for, the prices you find them there, but usually around $7.99 to $9.99 depending on what country you are in. First of all, big thanks to Frontier for giving me early access to the pack as well as the update, so I can make this video here for you today, as well as the showcase video that I released yesterday. So if you wanna have an overview of everything that is in the DLC as well as the update, I highly recommend watching that showcase video. It should be the next video that is on the channel, and there I go over everything, over all the news and all the pieces, all the animals that you will get when buying the DLC. But what are we actually doing today? We are building, as I said, a special build today, so a one-off episode build, and also this means you will be able to download this build when this video goes live. You will be able to download this build from the workshop, the map that this build is in, and you can make a blueprint out of it and use it in your own zoo. But what is this build actually? And you already probably saw it from the intro and the thumbnail. We're gonna build for the Highland cattle, for the Scottish Highland cattle. And we are going a little bit with a more themed build. We are gonna build a small, cozy little Scottish cottage. Scottish cottage, it almost rhymes. And we're building, I don't know, it's called a field, or isn't it called an exhibit or habitat? But we're building an enclosure for the Highland cattle. So almost like a little farm where they raise and care for these animals and use their milk and whatever, their meat, whatever you do with domesticated animals for their living. And at the moment we are focusing on building this little house. There's nothing inside, so there's no interior stuff like that, apart from all the pieces that are sticking inside from the outside. So if you want to use that maybe as a shop or a toilet building or whatever you need, will need to clean a little bit the inside of this building, because as I said, there are pieces sticking in from the outside. I didn't really care about that. For me, the outside aesthetic was more important. But we will also later gonna build a little bit of a stable for the cattle, so where they can sleep and where people can care for them. Also, that is more utilitarian than going for the looks, but I still try to make it as appealing as possible for if you want to use, when you want to use this building in your zoo. But now that this pack will release, I can also talk about what my overall thoughts are about this DLC. And in yesterday's showcase video, I already talked a little bit about what my opinion is and if you should buy it or not. But I want to go a little bit more deeper into that feed and the thought basically, and talk about what I'm now thinking now that I played with the pieces and the animals, what I'm thinking about the DLC. And if you have watched, maybe have watched my previous Raven Creek episodes, so my main zoo episode, that's the word, I was talking about that depending on whether this is the last DLC or not, also determines a little bit how I feel about this DLC. Now we know it isn't the last DLC, there's one more DLC coming later this year, another animal pack. And this means, this isn't the DLC Frontier is going away with, because Frontier is ending the game with. By the way, we're adding these rocks to the roof here to basically hold the fetch down. It is very common to do that, especially also in Scotland or in England, but also here where I live in Europe, to have rocks tied to the roof, or either on the roof, and basically this weights down the fetch and this prevents it from flying away, from getting swept away by very harsh storms or very heavy rain, stuff like that. So that's the reason why there are rocks on the roof. But yeah, what is my opinion about the DLC? Now I will talk about it. Since it isn't the last DLC, I can see the whole thing a little bit more relaxed. As I said in my video, if it would be the last DLC, I would have been a little bit disappointed, because there are still a lot of animals that we wish for that would be fantastic to have in the game. And then ending the lifetime of Planet Zoo with a Barnyard Animal DLC, albeit it being a fantastic DLC, would have been a little bit disappointing. But since it isn't the last DLC, I can say that for what it is worth, for what it is being a Barnyard domesticated animal DLC, it is fantastic. The animals, most of them, I would say a majority of them, apart from maybe one or two, this being the cattle and the donkey, are fantastic. Their models are fantastic. Frontier did a stellar job with all these animals, especially the sheep and the chicken look amazing. And yeah, if you're interested in domesticated animals, I know some people aren't really, they only want exotic and wild animals in their zoos. They are not really interested in petting zoos or area sections for domesticated animals. But if you're interested in such things, and if you want to have a petting zoo in your zoo, especially with the new guest animal encounter mechanic, then I highly recommend buying this DLC, because it really gives, for what it's worth, for the value, for the price, really gives a lot, especially also the pieces that we get with the DLC, which are really amazing. You have your typical barnyard fences, you have your picket fences, you have your you have these hedgerows that I used here in the back, already in this build. You have your wooden gates, but you then also have water vanes. You have your windmills, your big, almost Wild West windmills and water towers. And also you have a lot of smaller stuff like new buckets. You have a barrel, which is really amazing to finally have a functional or a placeable barrel in the game. Then you have more rustic buckets, you have milk cans, you have hay pieces, which are amazing for backstage areas or just for custom feeders, that we can use real hay in the game. I don't have to use the fetch pieces like we always did in the past. So coming only from the animals and the pieces, I definitely recommend this DLC if you have the money for it. I wouldn't buy it maybe for the full price. I know I'm now in a very special position, because Frontier is supporting me and is giving me these DLCs for no money. They are providing me with all the stuff, so I'm not the person who has to pay for these DLCs. So that's why I say, if you have the money to buy the DLC, I would still wait for maybe a discount or a sale on Steam. They're usually very regularly on sale, the DLCs. I would wait with this one for such a sale, and then maybe get it. If you are lucky and you have the money, you don't have to think about if you want to buy something or not, then I definitely recommend getting it, because for the price you're paying, you definitely get a very decent DLC. Not the best ones, there are definitely better ones out there, or there are the better ones from Planet Zoo, but it's a very decent DLC, and it brings a lot of nice and really usable pieces and a lot of really cool animals for your petting zoo areas, or if you maybe want to build a farm situation, if you want to build a little city or a little town and you want to have some farms around it, then you can also use these animals very well. We are building at the moment now, building the stable for the cows. I had left it open on one side, since Highland cattle can tolerate cold weather very good. They have a lot of fur. I mean, that is what they are known for their very shaggy fur, which is Frontier is a little bit lagging in. But that's why I'm leaving one side open, because they would not have a problem with snow or rain, because their fur insulates them very good. Now back to the topic of what I think about the DLC. My version of this pack is still basically a prototype version. I don't know if I can call it that, but it is a version which isn't the final version, basically. I still have to update my game once the DLC releases and download the final version or the published version of this DLC. So I have a few more bugs in this game than you will have. So if you're seeing some stuff happening, maybe in the showcase, maybe in this video, that looked a bit buggy, that looked a bit wrong, it might be because I have this preview version, and most of them will probably be resolved once the DLC goes live. And I have to say, this time I had quite a lot of bugs with this preview DLC, quite a lot more than usual, and some of them being a little bit annoying, like the chickens deforming their bodies when eating, some of the chickens missing the color, and I don't hold any grudge towards Frontier because of that. I know they are in a bit of a difficult situation at the moment with all the layoffs that have happening, with all the money problems, so I don't hold them against it if this version is a little bit more unfinished, I would call it now. So I hope when this DLC releases today that most of the feedback, if not all of them, will be resolved and you will have a totally playable and finished version. Now, as I said, two of the animals aren't that good, this being the Highland cattle and the donkey, but I still love the donkey, and that's why I decided to build for them. The donkey sadly isn't really, doesn't really look like the real Highland donkey, the cattle, the Highland cow, that's what I want to say. It doesn't really look like the Highland cow, simply because the fur isn't as shaggy and long and dripping down. I already talked about it in the showcase yesterday, as the real version has. So maybe even they changed that in between the time of this preview version and the release version. Maybe even they worked on that, or they will work on this in a later update or something like that. I would really hope that they do, because this animal could be one of the best of the DLC if it would have these small changes to it, and if it would look a bit more like the real life version, then I think it would go from mid-tier for me to one of the best animals. So we have the space back here behind the little cottage, and I thought, why not building a little bit of a garden here, because we get also we get 3 more crops or vegetables in this DLC, this being the turnip, the leek, and the mice plant, and this is always really cool if you get these plants. Now you can see them here in action, because they can be used very good. They are very useful, that's one to say, for backstages, for maybe food storages, but also for just theming. If you're maybe building like a petting zoo, farm inspired area, you can have maybe these shops where they sell fresh vegetables, or you have them in a more of a Thanksgiving setting, then you can use them. So I'm really always happy when we get new food items, so to say, with these DLCs. And with the mice plant, I already talked about that. We in the past we had to build them out of different plants. It was always very piece intensive and never looked really that good. So it's really nice that we finally get a mice plant in the game that sadly doesn't have the coms or the corn on the stock. So the corn piece is a individual piece, but it's still very nice. And here I'm using a blueprint a blueprint that you get also when you buy the DLC with this door and the rock wall. And many people believe this rock wall would be an individual piece from the DLC. It is made from the in-game 4 rocks that we already have, but it still looks really amazing, and I'm happy that they give us this as a blueprint piece so that we can use it in the zoos, because I don't know who made this by Frontier, which of the programmers or game developers made this, but it was a really good job. And I tried to make my own one. You saw that earlier in the speed build that I made my own version of this stone wall, this very typical stone wall that you see in England and Scotland and all these places, but this one just looks 10 times better, and I'm very happy that we have it. Here we have this little hill up here, because Scotland is very hilly. You have your valleys and you have the highlands of Scotland, and I wanted to emulate that a little bit. And in a moment we will also add, yeah, like I think like a standing stone or a Stonehenge-esque stone on top of this hill. So my idea was that maybe this place was formerly occupied by some druids or by the old natives of Scotland before Christianity and all that stuff happened. So maybe these are some remnants, some ruins of this old civilization that the farmer was just too, he didn't care about removing it, and it's still standing there under this great oak, which, in history were favorite places for druids and other healers and basically people of belief to place their holy sites under. So oaks have a very long history in the have a long history with Scotland and with Ireland as holy places. So I thought it would be fitting to have the standing stones there. And I now will have built a feeding trough, I would say. We sadly still don't have this typical feeding trough that you get on farms in this DLC. So I had to make my own, and using the new hay pieces really makes this more believable if you have actual hay in the feeding trough. But I will now do all the planting, doing the rock work, doing all the grass, and I want to really make it look really grassy, really almost like the green hills of Ireland, because we are Scotland, but in that kind of theme, to have a lot of grass there. Maybe a little bit too mid, considering we have cows here, and they would probably eat most of it during over the time, but still wanted to make it really feel really lush, because we have a lot of rain here, a lot of humidity. So grass and plants would grow like crazy if uncontrolled, and that is what we are doing right now. And this also means I will now leave you to the rest of the speed build with some nice music by the amazing creators of Planet Zoo, and I will then see you after the speed build in a little showcase where we go through this build, look at it in a first person perspective, and then I hope you enjoyed this speed build so far. You had learned a little bit if you should buy this DLC or not through my commentary, and then I see you in the showcase at the end of the video. And already the speed build is over, and we are here in the showcase part. And before we're gonna look at everything, I have to tell you, if you're downloading this from the workshop, don't be surprised that the entrance is all the way over here, and we are basically on the other side of the map. I have chosen to place it here because I wanted this row of trees that is naturally on this map in the background, as well as these hills and fields that you have on the outskirts of the map. And I added after the recording of the speed build, I added some more trees and grassy hills behind the exhibit and behind the exhibit, not the exhibit, but behind the whole build here, to make it a more complete picture, to make it more fit in with the rest of the landscape. But that out of the way, let's jump into it here. And I have to say, I'm really happy how everything turned out. It looks just like I imagined, really cozy, really, landish, really cottage-like. Your rural, I think, is the right word. Like you are somewhere in the country, in the county of Scotland, somewhere in nowhere, and you find this little, cottage here with some cows and some friendly neighbors, hopefully. But let's move on towards the house. And as I said, there's nothing in here, so no need to check it out. But before we go that direction, let's go around the house. And I hope I found the right theming and the right building building type to match these Scottish cottages. I looked online for some pictures, for some inspiration, and I found a lot that kind of looked like that, but I also found that but they also looked a bit different. But so I made the mashup of all the different styles and came up with my own one. Here we have the fireplace with smoke, and if we go around here, we have our little garden. As I said, we have our little garden here where they plant some vegetables for their own needs, some mice, some radishes, not some radishes, some leeks, some carrots, and we also have the access to the backstage. If I'm fast enough, I don't land on the roof. As a nothing special here, very simple, very utilitarian as always. We have some supplies here. We have some milk cans. We can see the cows sleeping over here. Now we also get a closer look at the cows, and as I said, the fur wouldn't need a little bit. It looks very flat. I think the right word. So it could need a little bit more love to make it really stand out. As I said, nothing more to see here. Just a nice little backstage, and the person is bringing food. And if we go around the other side, we have this little walkway, this little path over here that leads right beside the cow. Pasture, I think, pasture or field, I think, and I still don't know what the right word for it is. We have our gate here where we can enter the enclosure, the field, and then some more supplies, some more utilities, and then if you follow the path, it just leads away from the cottage and up into nowhere, and maybe it's a different cottage, maybe a different farm. But we can also look, of course, at the animals, and if you go inside, jump over the wall, we have our feeding trough here. We have our water trough with a little pump, which is a part or a piece of the new DLC. Really cool. It's not functional, but it looks amazing, I have to say. And now it's getting filled with a watering can. And we have our little guide stone, our little standing stone here, ritual stone, whatever you want to need it, where they maybe the druids in long lost times made some rituals, some religious practices and stuff like that, and now it is used for cows, and the cows can enjoy this place. That is basically it. That is everything I did for the special build for the release of the Barnyard Animal Pack today. And next week we will be back right away in Raven Creek, and we will start working on our own little petting zoo area there in Raven Creek. I already have kind of all the plans in my mind, how I want it to look, where I want to have which animals. So we will also then take another deeper look at the guest animal encounter mechanic and integrate that into Raven Creek. So if you're interested in that, then I hope I see you next week again for the next video, and until then, I wish you a great time. Enjoy the release of the Barnyard Animal Pack, and stay safe, and goodbye everyone.